Okay, y'all. So, consistency is one of my other focuses. So, we are back. Bakeshop Confessional with your girl, Kirsta Q. Um, Last time I spoke about distractions, and then today I want to talk about comparison. One, because our cell phones, Instagram, especially social media, Instagram more specifically, because I'm not on TikTok, but I feel like it can be more fun and more informative. While Instagram is very much, uh, it's become a place where people, even if you don't realize it, you're comparing yourself to others. And at a certain point, I actually would not get on this Instagram page because one, my algorithm was geared towards baking, so I could see all different types of bakers, which is really great. But then I started to notice in the back of my mind, like this comparison going off in the back of my head, like me thinking to myself, like, you've been doing this forever. Like, why aren't you where they are? Why don't you, why aren't you moving the needle as far as they've moved the needle? And it became very depressing. So I would stay off of it. Like when I take, like I would stay off of it, I would maybe get hit up, and I would kind of hold off on responding because I was just like in a state of like stillness, but more like frozen, if that makes sense. Not knowing like how to make the right move or if I'm making the right move. That as well. In 2022 to 2023, your girl was like, in 2021 individual, but I was like going, taking risks, like really pouring in, investing in myself and my business. So much so that I invested in one event more than I've ever invested in myself, um, with the belief that I was going to get a return on my investment. And the vendors of that event did not do well. They did a great job selling it to you, but they did not do a great job actually with placing the vendors in the way that they said they would. And I was an advocate for myself and did speak up. And they left your girl high and dry, never responded. And so after that, I became like super, super cautious. And before the event, going into it, I had a full on anxiety attack. Never had one of those in my entire life. But, oh Lord. So, like I was saying, I had an anxiety attack, and I'd never had one of those before. So, let me tell you, I never wanted that to happen again. Like, I never really went into my stuff with like doubt, like so heavy to the point where I'm like crying. Uh, I was crying and I was praying to God all at the same time, just talking to Him, because I'm just like, this is insane. But now I totally understand like people being anxious, and it kind of making them freeze up and be so still that they're not motivated because they're paralyzed by being afraid. Um, and I just want to say, because I'm in a new space, like, one, pray, speak to God, but then also like move through it, move through it. If that means that you have to take what you're doing in small doses, do a little bit of it now today, and then do a little bit of it the next day, then do that. Because once you start getting in the groove of it, then you're like, oh wow, like, okay, I can do this and I am doing this, and then I did it. Anywho, going back to comparison, I realized that my time will come. The timing for me, God has already written it. So my timing and how I'm going about it, my path is totally different than anybody else on social media. And I was also thinking, like, back in the day, I couldn't even see what somebody was doing with their baking business. You definitely wanted to pry in and just to be able to connect and say like, hey, how are you doing this? And that's the focus that I've taken now when I'm on my Instagram for my business. I'm looking at other people that are baking, but I'm focusing on like, how are they doing that management wise? How are they doing that production wise? How are they being productive versus, wow, look at them. Like, none of that, none of that. We take best practices, that's what I learned when I was in school for hospitality. Like, you take best practices and then you figure out either how can I replicate them or do them better. So that's my approach that I've been doing. And then also realizing like, God has given me purpose, God has given me passion, and He has given me a path. So all I need to do is stay focused on my path. All I need to do is make sure that I get the product to my people. That's all I need to do. Your girl is very futuristic, so let me tell you, I've got plans for 20 years from now. And a lot of times, well, what I was doing is I would like jump into that space and like, how do I get there right now? And it's like, no, baby girl, my mentor told me, like, you just need to focus on, this man's all in my face, you just need to focus on getting your product to your people consistently, and building those corporate clients, and building more relations with people and partnerships and sponsorships like that. So that's what I have to say about comparison today, and how it's just super important to focus on oneself. Do not compare. And if you're going to do anything that's kind of a this versus this, look at the best practices and figure out how can you adapt them to work for you. That's all, y'all. Thank you for sitting with me. Had to get it out. Had to stay consistent. And next time, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about, is consistency with you all.